Hello everyone, welcome back to the Christian Force channel. Now in today's video, we're gonna be talking about how we as Christians can use our skills and talent to glorify God, because it's been something that's been on my mind and I really want to share with you guys and hope it brings inspiration on ways you can use your skills to glorify God as well. A lot of times we might think that only pastors, worship leaders, or even missionaries are doing God's work, but the truth is whatever gifts God has giving us, whether it's art, music, writing, business, or anything else, can be used for His glory. So as you watch me draw, let's dive into what the Bible says about creativity, purpose, and how we can honor God with the skills He's giving us. But before I get into the main points, I want to share a bit of my own journey, because honestly, I didn't always know how to use my art for God. I love drawing, creating characters, and telling stories, but for the longest time, I felt kind of lost. Like, how could I take this skill and use it for something meaningful? I knew I wanted to honor God, but I didn't know how. And it wasn't until I started Christian Force that things started to click. That's when I came up with my cartoon character Jesus, who I am drawing right now, with all his sheeps, as a fun way to share God's message. Through them, I can create comics, tell stories, and bring joy while still pointing people back to Jesus. That's when I realized something big. God doesn't waste our gifts. He gave them to us for a reason, and when we surrender them to Him, He'll show us how to use them for His glory. And really, it makes sense because God is the ultimate creator. Genesis 1:1 says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." Everything we see, nature, colors, beauty, it all comes from Him. And because we're made in His image, that means we also have creativity within us. Whether you love painting, designing, making music, or even coming up with business ideas, that creative spark in you is a reflection of who God is. So if you've ever felt like your artistic or creativity gifts aren't quite spiritual enough, trust me, they are. God wired you that way on purpose. Now you might be wondering, okay, I have these skills, but does it really matter to God on how I use them? The answer is yes. 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 10 through 11 says, "As each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace, in order that in everything God may be glorified through Jesus Christ." That means your talents aren't just random. God gave them to you on purpose, for a purpose, not just for yourself, but to serve others and point people back to Him. For example, through my cartoons, I get to share a little message of faith in a light-hearted way, but it doesn't have to be art. It can really be anything. If you're a musician, your songs can bring people closer to God. If you're at business, you can use that to help others and support ministries. No gift is too small or unimportant in God's kingdom. One of the best ways we can honor God through our talents is by doing our work with excellence. Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing from the Lord you will receive inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. What this verse means is that whether you're creating art, building something, writing, or even running a business, do it as if you're doing it for God Himself, not just for money, followers, or recognition, but as an act of worship. For me, that means putting effort into my drawings and storytelling, not just to make something cool, but because I want to work to reflect God's goodness and creativity. When we put our best effort into what we do, it honors Him. Now, I know sometimes we hold back from using our gifts because we feel like we're not good enough or we're afraid of failing. But remember, God isn't looking for perfection. He's looking for faithfulness. Exodus 35 verse 31 through 32 talks about how God filled Bezalel with the Spirit of God to create artistic design for His temple. God equips us for the work He calls us to do. If I had let fear stop me, I would have never started Christian Force or created my cartoon character Jesus. But when I stepped out in faith, God gave me ideas and opportunities I never expected. So if God has given you a creative gift, don't let fear stop you from using it. Step out in faith and trust that He will use what you create for His glory. One of the things I learned is that you don't need a huge platform or crazy skills to start using your gifts for God. He can do big things with small beginnings. Think about the story of David. Before he became king, he was just a shepherd playing with his harp and watching over his sheep. But those small things prepared him for something greater. Zechariah 4:10 says, "Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin." So whatever your talent is, whether it's art, music, business, or anything else, start where you are. Offer it to God and trust that He will multiply it over time. And another key thing I've realized is that who you surround yourself with matters. If you want to grow in using your gifts for God, connect with other creatives who are doing the same thing. Proverbs 27:17 says, "Iron sharpens iron, and no man sharpens another." Having a community of like-minded people can inspire you, keep you accountable, and help you grow. For me, seeing other Christian artists, designers, and content creators helped me realize that there's a space for my art in God's kingdom. So if you don't have a community yet, start looking for one, whether that's online, at church, or even just one or two people who encourage you in your journey. Sometimes we get caught up in worrying about whether our work will succeed. Will people like it? Will I make an impact? What if I fail? But the truth is, our job is to be faithful. God takes care of the results. 1 Corinthians 3:7 says, "So neither he who plants nor he who waters is anything, but only God who gives the growth." This means that whatever you create, whether it reaches a few people or thousands, God is the one who will use it the way He sees fit. So don't stress about the numbers. Just focus on creating for Him and He will take care of the rest. And one mistake people make is thinking that because they're doing something for God, they don't need to put in the effort to improve. But that's not true. Look at how God instructed people to build a temple in the Old Testament. He wanted the best materials, the best craftsmanship, and the best effort. Proverbs 22:29 says, "Do you see a man skillful in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before obscure men." So whether you're an artist, musician, writer, or entrepreneur, keep improving your craft, not to impress people, but because giving your best effort is another way to worship God. And here's the last thing I want you to leave with. What you create can live beyond you and impact generations. Think about the books written by Christian authors, the songs written by worship leaders, the paintings and films inspired by faith. Those things continue to bless people years after they were made. Psalm 78:4 says, "We will not hide them from their children, but tell to the coming generation the glorious deeds of the Lord and His might and the wonders that He has done." What you create today can inspire someone 5, 10, or 15 years from now. So don't hold back. Use your gifts boldly because you never know who God will reach through your creativity. I really hope this encouraged you to step out and use your talents for God. If this message spoke to you, let me know in the comments below. What's a skill or talent you have and how do you want to use it for God? And also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more faith-based creativity content. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next video. And here's the result of this drawing.